Welcome to Delay the Decay, the podcast for unashamedly ambitious men who want to live longer, lead better, and love deeper, prioritizing what matters most. I'm your host, Dan Hardy, coach, entrepreneur, and former pastor, here to help you build a life of more intentional direction, not perfection, across 5 life domains: spiritual, relational, physical, mental, and financial. Welcome to another episode of the Delay the Decay podcast. And my guest today is Matt Estrin. Matt is an entrepreneur in Greeley, Colorado. He has been married for 20 plus years. He has 2 beautiful daughters. I just learned that he has completed a half triathlon, Ironman. And he's just got a lot to say and encourage us with today. So, hey, Matt, great to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
I want to start with a question that I ask all of my guests, and it's a pretty simple question, but it's, what is one small step or habit you've chosen recently that's kept you moving in the right direction?
That's kind of a broad question. The right direction could mean a lot of things,
yes.
Right? Yeah, I've found for me that I do the best with habits when they're tied to some form of commitment. You mentioned my half Ironman. So for me, exercise, I'm at the best when I'm exercising, when I've got something that I'm committed to, a race or something coming up. So in the context of that, we're in a season now. You mentioned my 2 daughters. I've got a sophomore in high school and a 7th grader. And the start of the school year is also their sports season. They play volleyball, and so we are in volleyball season right now. And as an entrepreneur, I own 4 businesses. There is enough things on my plate that could keep me from being the dad that I want to be, and there's enough things that I can make excuses for. So one of the habits that I did right away is I made myself commit to being more than just a spectator for my kids' sports. So for my 7th grade daughter, I am keeping the scorebook at all of their games, which isn't my favorite thing to do, but it means that I've got a hard stop on game days, and I got to get to my daughter's games. And then for my older daughter, I've signed up for about half the games to be a line judge. And so for me, I've just found when it comes to habits, tying them to commitments is incredibly helpful for me. The season we're in, the most important habit I want to be in is being there for my kids, especially in the sports season. And so making myself be committed to those games is the habit that I've recently taken on to the right path forward.
I feel like we can end the podcast right now. That is a truth bomb that I'm going to be able to hang on to for a long time. That if I want sustainable habits, tie it to a commitment. Brilliant.
Thanks.
Where were you when my kids were in the home?
Yeah.
I love it. Well, you are a serial entrepreneur, and you have not been at this entrepreneurial gig for a long time, but you are a serial
Sure.
entrepreneur. And would you just talk to us a little bit about your journey to entrepreneurship, however you want to lay that out?
Yeah, absolutely. So just like you, I have a background in full-time ministry. I was a pastor for 10 years in churches, and then did a 5-year stint with a nonprofit Christian sports organization. And so 15 years total of full-time ministry background. And but I'd always kind of had this nagging. My wife and I, we've been married for over 20 years, and we have always, since we've been married, always kind of dreamt about, being business owners. There was a time where we really wanted to open a coffee shop, and we bought an espresso machine for our house and started working on recipes and started looking at spaces. And there's been other times that we've had wild ideas for different business ideas, but we've both kind of had that nagging in our soul to live into this entrepreneurial life that we both feel like is something within us. And to be honest, you've been in ministry. I think a lot of times ministry can satisfy that style of nagging, and there's a lot of not every day is the same when you're a pastor or when you're in ministry. So I think for a long time it satisfied that nagging. But when I was in my mid-30s, 43 now. But when I was in my mid-30s, I was a worship pastor, and I loved that. But worship ministry is a young man's game, and I was starting to feel that I wasn't as young as I could have been. And there was a lot of worship pastors, former worship pastors that I knew, that one had either stayed in too long and been forced out and just had a really brutal ending to their ministry career, or they transitioned into another role inside the church. And so somewhere in my mid-30s, I was kind of in this moment where I was like, should I be, do I need to be do I need to look at doing another role inside the church? And that didn't really excite me. I think our connection's gotten a little funky here. Hopefully it's still recording, but I'll just keep talking and hopefully it's still recording. Are you still getting all this?
I am. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
I think we'll be okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, I'll just keep talking.
Okay.
But so I started thinking, do I need to be in a different role inside my church? Executive pastor or something like that. And that didn't seem to really hit in my soul. And on the other side, I started, really enjoying. I was distilling in my house. One of the businesses I own is a distillery. I was distilling in my garage. My wife and I had gone on a anniversary trip to Napa Valley and had kind of become intertwined with the alcohol industry and just all these things kind of came together that got me to a place where I thought, I'd really love to take a shot at living the entrepreneurial life. The major catalyst that made it happen for me was my grandfather, Don Estrin, passed away in 2016, I believe, March of 2016. And he had left my wife and I with a bit of an inheritance. I tell people not enough to start a business, but enough to let us dream a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to take that inheritance and to invest it in this dream of wanting to start our own business. So in 2018, we took the leap, and I left my full-time pastor job and became a full-time entrepreneur and opened 477 Distilling in June of 2018. And that was where it all began.
Wow. So I've got to poke into worship pastor distilling in my garage. Like, did you take any heat for that at all? You get no heat from me, man. You get accolades from me, but the church can be a weird place. Like, did you get any pushback there?
From it's
anybody.
The screen keeps pausing, so
okay.
Screen keeps pausing, so I'm missing part of the question.
Are?
There. So can you say it one more time?
Yeah. Did you get any pushback from the church or anybody in the church while you were leading worship and distilling alcohol in your garage?
I will say this: it wasn't the most known hobby.
Okay. Yeah.
I kind of kept it. I kept it to myself. I had some good close friends that knew what I was doing, and they were all good with it. I will tell you that there was about a 7-month gap from when I decided I was going to open the distillery to when I actually left my ministry position. And there was actually a time in my life where I thought I wanted to keep doing both. I think the idea of losing out on a steady paycheck and becoming a full-time entrepreneur really had me nervous and scared. And so I had originally concocted this plan that I was going to be a full-time worship pastor and start this dream business on the side. Which if you know anything about entrepreneurship was like the worst plan I could have possibly had. Mm-hmm. And so originally when I brought this to the church of, hey, I want to do this, I want to open this distillery, but I still want to be your worship pastor. There was definitely some contentious moments between some congregational members and myself. Mm-hmm. And I, the argument of alcohol and church and do they mix, different argument for a different day. I'm not here to argue that, but
no pun intended.
They
mix.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah. And the people that were contentious and frustrated towards me and what I was trying to do, I understand it and it's all good and we're all good. But yeah, there was, I would say 95% of the church was very excited about my next step in life. And there was about 5% that, thought I was going to be making devil juice. And so that was it. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me poke into that. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Do you, and by the way, I have no issues. In fact, I have visited both your distillery and your restaurants, and I cannot recommend them more highly. What would you say to maybe a young entrepreneur in their mid-30s, like you were, who had a good job. They were kind of living out what they thought was their calling at the time, but they had a dream. They had an idea. It takes, you had a little bit of seed money from your grandfather. That's awesome. Not everybody has that, but what would you tell the person that has a dream, an idea, yet they have a pretty secure job? How would you encourage them to think through that, to navigate those difficult waters, security versus pursuing a dream and a passion?
Yeah, I mean, the reality of entrepreneurship is it is a risky man's game. You know, everything I'm doing is risky, and I've been fortunate enough that my distillery's been around for 7 years. I've started 7 businesses. I've closed 1 of them. I've sold 2 of them, and now I still retain 4 of them. But there's no guarantees even for me. I mean, even 7 years in, there are still days where my distillery that is doing quite well and has 2 tasting rooms and distributes to 9 states, there are still days where my spending is higher than my income, and you get nervous about whether you can sustain that. And so I say all that to say that I never want to underplay the risk of being an entrepreneur. It is a very risky thing, and I have risked my house, I have risked my reputation, and I have risked it all. And so if the best decision I ever made for the distillery was to leave my job as a pastor. That whole thing that I talked about, where I was trying to keep my job and trying to start my business. In hindsight, there's no way I could have done both. I needed to be all in. I needed to be 100% focused on this dream, and so the best decision I made for me was to go 100% all in on the distillery. And so there are a lot of entrepreneurs that I meet that have that same mindset, though. I've got this steady paycheck, but I also have this great idea. I want to pursue this idea, but I want to make sure that I'm not risking, my house or my family. And those are all valid things. But I will say this: at some point, you gotta make the decision, either go for it or not go for it. And it's okay to not go for it. But you will be living the rest of your life thinking, I wish I would have gone for it. I know we're going to talk about this at some point, but I've actually spent the last 5 months working on a book about my entrepreneurial journey. And I talk about this in one of the chapters called Get on the Dance Floor. And one of my favorite traditions, I'm a big storyteller, and so I'm going to tell a lot of stories today, if that's okay.
Love it.
One of my favorite traditions in my house is every January we go to the father-daughter dance. And even my sophomore in high school daughter still loves to go to the father-daughter dance with her dad.
Love it.
And it's like one of our best traditions ever. We talk about it all year long. We'll be at a restaurant in July, and my kids will go, "This is a great place to do our father-daughter dance dinner." Or they'll see a dress at a store in September. "I got to get this dress for the father-daughter dance in January." It's a conversation that we have all year long. And so January comes around, we go to the father-daughter dance, and I am a horrific dancer, like a horrible. I have no rhythm, no skill. But we go to the dance, and I just let it all go. I look like a fool out on the dance floor. I'm there with my girls. I'm dancing. I'm having fun. I'm having the best time ever. And it is crazy to me at this dance. I would say 30% of the dads at the dance never get on the dance floor with their kids. And their kids will be out there dancing. The dads are sitting at the table. And who knows, for whatever reason, probably because they don't like to dance. They're not good at dancing. It's not their thing. But in the book, one of the connections I make there is, I don't know if I'm doing the right dad stuff or not with this father-daughter dance. I'm never going to, I'd like to think that it's the right thing. I'd like to think that down the road, it's going to help my kids date the right guys and people that treat them like princesses and, all those types of things. But I also know that 20 years down the road, I don't want to look back on my time as a dad and say, man, I wished I would have gotten on the dance floor with my kids. I'd rather go for it and get out on the dance floor and look crazy. And 20 years from now, say, I did it. I got out there. I gave it my all. I had a blast, and no regrets to that regard. And I think it's the same thing with entrepreneurship is, if you've ever been someone that says, I've got this dream, I want to do this. This is something that I'm really passionate about, but I've got this great paycheck out here. It's like, if you've ever said those words, and I tell you, probably once a week for the last 7 years, somebody has told me, man, I'd love to start my own business. I'd love to own a distillery. I'd love to own a brewery. I'd love to do something. If you've ever said those words, that's really like, you either be the guy that does it and that risks it all and gives it a shot and who knows what's going to happen, or the guy that 20 years down the road goes, man, I wished I would have taken the risk,
Yeah.
and I'm glad I had the steady paycheck, but man, I really wish I would have taken the risk. So
I love that story. That's such a helpful illustration, Matt. I was just thinking, what leads to the confidence of actually getting out on the dance floor? I mean, I think about your scenario where you were making it in your garage. A few of your buddies tasted it and said, "You've got something really good there." You had a little bit of seed money that gave you a little bit of confidence that you're not going to have to, eat cat food for the next week, anyways. Then what are some of the other factors that give you the confidence to actually get out on the dance floor?
Absolutely, yeah. So you mentioned one of them. So I had been making it for 4 years in my garage. And so I knew the things that I was making were good because I would test it on everybody. Anybody that came to my house, it was, hey, I made this product, try this. Christmas time, I give it out as gifts. And so I knew from people that were friends of mine, but also willing to be honest with me, that I was making stuff that people would enjoy. They thought it was really good. Beyond that, one of the very first things I did when my grandfather passed, we received the inheritance. Again, you talk about the money thing. I still ended up having to take out loans. I could get into all the things I did to secure the total amount of funding to be able to start the business. But one of the things we did with that seed money that my grandfather gave me is my mom actually did a little bit of research and found a school in Kentucky. This is a real school. The name is going to make you laugh. It is a real school. It's called Moonshine University. And
MSU. Come on.
Yeah, dude. Yep. I am a proud alumni of Moonshine University.
Love it.
But we found this. It's a distiller's school, and they do 6-day intensive courses where you go out to Kentucky. You actually are in a distillery. It's from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. You do a deep dive into all aspects of the business. And so, I went out and it was expensive. It was a pretty big investment on our end. But I decided to go, and my wife was good with me going. So I one of the first things I did is I spent 7 days in Kentucky at this school, Moonshine University. And so, I didn't just, it wasn't just, I've got a passion. I know I've got a product that's good. I'm going to start a business. It was, I've got a passion. I know I've got a product that was good. And now I had this incredible education. And not to mention the education provided some really, really good connections to be able to come back and say, I've got a plan. I know how to do this. I've got some people in my corner. And so those were some of the things that really gave me the confidence to say, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. Let's get on the dance floor. Let's do this.
I love it. I have a guy that I'm coaching right now that has been in a particular line of work for almost 30 years. And he is like feeling the nudge to go out and on his own. But his wife is not on board. It's scary to her. And he wants to honor his wife in it. He feels like he could go out and do it. Like how did your wife's opinion help you in moving out? Was she with you? Was she nervous, fearful? I'm sure all of that, but talk to me about that. Yeah. You were married at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Very married. Yep. I'm so fortunate to have a wife that's been really supportive and behind what we've wanted to do. And I've talked to plenty of entrepreneurs that's been their case as well. The one thing I would say about my wife is she is, for me, she has become the ultimate litmus test if my idea is worth pursuing or not.
Okay.
As I've mentioned, I've started 7 businesses. Left to my own devices, I would have started 30 businesses.
Okay.
And so what I found, and especially with the early one with 477 Distilling, is that she has just become a really good voice of wisdom for me, of knowing if it's the right business, the right time, the right use of our energy. And there have been plenty of times where she says, nope, we're not doing that. And, in fact, a great illustration of that is since I started 477s, over 7 years ago, pretty quickly I knew that I wanted to open a second tasting room. And And I had found a space in Windsor, Colorado, which is one town over from us. I think you live in Windsor, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's one town over from us. I had found a space in Windsor that I thought was the perfect space. And so I took my wife there. I said, this is it. This is the space. I'm in. Let's do this. And we walk in. She goes, nah, I don't like it. I'm not feeling Windsor. I'm not feeling this. And you know, and I definitely push against the fence a little bit. It's like, I don't know if you know what you're talking about. This space is pretty good, you know. And she's like, no, I don't like it. And so I trust her. I said, okay, we'll move on. And we let that space go. And not too long after that, an investor reached out to me who owned a space in Loveland, which is now where our tasting room is. But same thing, took my wife out there. And funny enough, I actually didn't really like the space in Loveland initially. But I was like, I got to take my wife out there. We go out, we walk in. She goes, yep, this is it. This is where we're doing the second tasting room. And I said, okay. And, you know, sure enough, we've opened there now. It's been open for almost a year. And it's, I can't imagine what would have happened if we would have gotten the space in Windsor. And there's a lot to that story in terms of things that have happened since I dropped the space. But you know, it's turned out to be the best decision. So I say that to say that at least for me, I really lean into my wife's wisdom. And you know, she doesn't work in any of the businesses with me. She works at my kid's school, and we are really good at being married. And I think we may butt heads a little bit at being business partners, but having her being in a different space and not being in it with me every day, when I have a wild idea, or I get really excited about something, I can bring her in with a fresh set of eyes, and she can be a really great piece of wisdom for me. So to the guy that you're coaching that is having that moment, you know, lean into your wife's wisdom. Doesn't mean that it's a no forever, but it may mean that it's a no for now. And you know, the worst thing in the world would be if he does it anyway and it doesn't work out, what that's going to be to the strain on the marriage, you know? Yeah. But don't drop the passion. Don't drop the desire. Keep pushing towards it. Keep trying to bring her along in the process. And there will be a point where she's either there or she's not. And
Great wisdom. I've been married 45 years, and my wife and I were reflecting on a decision I made about 20 years ago, maybe closer to 25 years ago, to buy a house from our youth leader because he was moving to Tennessee to plant a church, and he couldn't sell it. It was a bad time in the market. So I bought the house. My wife found out from a friend that we bought the house. And that did not go well. And that investment didn't go well either. There was just something about being in alignment with your wife. And, you know, the Proverbs talk about there's wisdom in many counselors. Well, it starts with our wife, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt about it. Yeah. Well, you've got a plaque, I heard, allegedly hanging in your house that says, work hard and be nice to people.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's right under. I'm in my house now. I can't. It's kind of around the corner here, but
okay.
But yeah, it's kind of our house mantra. Yeah, you know, I don't know if you ever watch. If you're a football fan, I'm a huge college football fan. Go USC Trojans! It's going to be our year this year. Really feeling it. But
hope so.
But there are you know, there's all those teams that when they walk out of their locker room, you know, they touch a plaque or a poster or a saying. I think you know, Notre Dame, boo, is be a champion today. They touch that plaque on the way out. Nebraska touches a horseshoe or something, and it's a representation of what, you know, what they want to focus on when they're going to play in that game. And so with our family, it's pretty simple. We just want to work really hard at whatever we're doing. You know, my kids are in school, they're playing volleyball. My wife works at my kids' school. I'm trying to run these businesses. We want to give it, you know, our absolute best effort, but we never want to forget about the people that are around us. And so, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on being nice to people, being a good person, making the right decisions as far as relationships go. You know, raising girls is interesting. Do you have girls?
One daughter.
Okay, you have a daughter. Yeah. And I would imagine the drama around your daughter was significantly higher than the drama around your boys.
She's probably going to be listening to this. So, but yes, Natalie, it was, and Natalie has 4, and she has 4 daughters. So she's getting a little bit of her own medicine.
So the girl drama is wild, and so we have a phrase in our house that we use with our kids all the time. Be Switzerland is what we tell them. Be Switzerland. Switzerland doesn't have any enemies. They're just friends with everybody.
That's good.
And so we tell our kids all the time, hey, be Switzerland. The popular girls that are being mean, just be nice to them. The girls that are outcasts that the people are making fun of, be nice to them too. When I was in high school, I didn't really have a group of friends. I was friends with everybody, and I still am, and so that's it for us. We just, as a family, that's our focus. We want to work hard, be nice to people. It's not complicated.
Yeah. When you started the business, when you first jumped into 477 Distillery, how many hours a week would you say you were working in that first 12, 18 months?
Sure. I was probably in the 60 hour a week range, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
The nice thing about being a business owner is you can pick and choose the hours that you want to work. And so one of the things that I made an internal deal with myself, that I truly believe my most important job is being a dad. My kids are the, my relationship with Jesus, my marriage and my kids. Those are the most important things in my life. And so early on I said, I just, again, I don't know what's going to happen with this business. It could be huge and I could sell it for hundreds of millions of dollars, or it could crumble in year one. But I don't ever want my kids to look back on the business experience and say, well, Dad was gone for 2 years while he was opening this business. And so early on I said, I'm just not going to let the business get in the way of being a dad in the times that mattered the most. And so I was pretty good at making sure that when I needed to be present for my kids, whether it's at school, whether it's at home, that I was doing those types of things. And then you can pick and choose, so getting up earlier in the day to get email work done so that I could, do things I needed to get done while I was, in person. Now, the nature of my business had a lot of night work to it because we did operate a bar. And so we were open in the evenings. But I hired staff right away. I didn't work every night. I could have, very easily could have, and it would have been more lucrative for me for sure. But again, my priority was I wanted to make sure that I was home for my kids. And so I didn't work every night. And I think, honestly, being a pastor, I think kind of groomed us for that a little bit, because there are times and seasons when you're a pastor where it just gets really busy. Easter, Christmas Eve, certain things like that, where your family just knows, hey, Dad's got a 2 week or a 3 week, stint where he's going to be working a lot, and we're going to give him grace in that because we know that on the back end he's going to make up for it. And so our family, I think, has been really understanding to that. But long answer for a short question. About 60, I'd say probably in the 60 hour a week range is what I was putting in.
I would suspect you're wired a little bit like me. Like you like to work. I mean, left to yourself, you could work 100 hours a week easy if you didn't
absolutely
have that moral compass or that desire to prioritize your family and prioritize your health. I know you've been doing that as well.
Yep.
Just a good word. What about the be nice to people part? Hard work, be nice to people. I know that's not only important to you to teach your daughters, but it's important for you to teach your employees and to treat customers in that way. Talk to me a little bit about your organizational values as well that include being nice to people and being involved in the community and that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, my businesses have 3 core values that they all carry the same core values with a little bit different twist on them. But the first one is we love serving people. And the reality is we are in the business of people no matter what part of our business it is that we're doing. So from a distillery standpoint, we've got our tasting room. I tell my staff all the time, my bar staff, that everyone that walks into our room, they're either having the best day of their life, the worst day of their life, or somewhere in between, and we get to be a part of that. And so that's just something that they get sick of hearing me say that. I say it all the time. But we just never want to forget that we're in the business of people and that we get to play even just a small role in being a part of their life. And like even to the effect of, we distribute our products to 9 different states. We just landed a distribution deal in Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. Yeah, which is really exciting. But like like our bottles are sitting on somebody's dining room table tonight that's having a family conversation, or they're playing poker with their friends. And so like, we just never want to forget that even our bottles that are traveling out of state to people that we've never met and will never meet, that we still get to have a small part of that life and that experience that they're living. And so we just never want to forget, we love serving people. We are in the business of people. The second one is we love our community. And so what that looks like for us is, one, we want to create a space that the community likes to gather. And so all my spaces are pretty intentionally curated to be welcoming, to be, encouraging people to come, to have business meetings, to play games with their friends, to enjoy, a really great community gathering spot. So whether it's my restaurants, whether it's my distilleries, those are curated for community spaces, but also, like, we give away a ton of money to charity. We give away lots of bottles and prizes to charity. Personally, I give a lot of my time back. I sit on the board for the Greeley Area Chamber of Commerce. I sit on the board for the Downtown Development Authority. I'm on the UNC Women's Volleyball Committee to try to help bolster the UNC women's volleyball program. And so a big part of where I put my time is in making sure that we are giving back to our community. Our last core value is, in our distillery, it's we love making cocktails better. In our restaurant, it's we love making waffles better. But at the end of the day, the creative element is really important to me. I live in a creative space. I like to have a creative brain. I like to be stimulated from a creative side. And so I want to encourage my staff to work on that as well. And so the cocktails that we put out, if you come into our cocktail bar, you're going to find cocktails that you will see nowhere else, because they're made by our staff. They've all had some really creative ideas and thoughts into that. You're not going to get the basic old fashioned or Manhattan. You're going to get some really cool twist on it. And then same thing with my restaurant. We serve waffles. It's a waffle restaurant. But we have a caprese waffle that is, you'd never think that those things would go together. Strawberries and basil and mozzarella cheese and a vinegar drizzle. It sounds weird. It tastes incredible. But again, our staff has been so creative in coming up with these ideas. So those are the values that really pour into it. But they all stem from, we love serving people. At the end of the day, we want to be in the business of people, and we are. Yeah. And so that's important to us.
These organizational values, after hearing your story and your heart a little bit, they seem like they're your personal values as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, have you always had a longer table in your house, and have you and your wife had people into your house and feeding them, and over the years, has that been?
Oh yeah. It's tougher now with kids in the season of life we're in. I mean, we're going every night with sports and whatnot, but yeah, we've when in the easier times of life, we used to have a group that came to our house every Tuesday night called our Taco Tuesday group. Nice. And it originally started as we wanted to watch a TV show together with these like 5 people, and then it blew up into, we have 20, 25 people in our house on Tuesday nights eating food together, and sometimes it would go into really deep conversations about life, and sometimes it would just be a lot of joking, and it was a great group to have. Now we have a very close connection with our neighbors. One over, their kids are the same age as ours, and we've become best friends with them. I spend a lot of time with them. We a young lady that plays, she's the setter for the UNC volleyball team, has become very close with our family. So we enjoy having her and her boyfriend over for meals regularly and pouring into her. And so opportunities like that, we definitely love to have people around our table for sure.
Yeah. It seems like if someone's going to start a business, that they should first examine their own values and what their gifting is, what their passions are. And it doesn't seem like it's oftentimes going to take a complete 180. It seems like that business is going to be in line with what you enjoy, what you value, and what you're passionate about. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely, my businesses are definitely a reflection of me, no doubt about that.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about your employees for a minute. How many employees across your businesses do you have right now?
It's ever changing, even as of yesterday. I think I'm at 40, 41, something like that.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something that I've struggled with, and I'm gonna ask you just to speak into that. As I have had several businesses, as I was the lead guy in the church for 18 years, there were employees, and I could at times be transactional with my employees. In other words, like we got a job to get done, we got people to serve, we want to pursue excellence, and oftentimes I would just want them to get the job done without really having empathy, trying to understand who they are, what they're experiencing. Are they fulfilled in this job? And so in my flesh, in my natural man, I can be more of a transactional leader than a relational leader. Now I've learned, and I love being a relational leader, but that's my default if I'm not careful. Talk to me about that. Like you got a million and one things going on, things that you're thinking about, and then you got the employees that they've got things they're thinking about. They've got a job to do from your perspective. They've got a life to live from their perspective. How do you navigate from? How do you prevent yourself from going to this transactional space?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say that naturally lean in the opposite direction of you. I'm much more of a relational leader.
Okay.
And I, it is so important to me. And I think, and I'll say this to say that I've been burned plenty of times by staff, but it is so important to me to create an environment and a space where my team feels fulfilled in what they're doing. The reality is that a lot of my employees are not going to be with me forever. If they're cooking waffles, if they're bartending, it's not a forever job. But one of the things I've said is I can look back on my own life at some of the jobs that I've had, and I can say that, man, without a doubt, this job that I had at this golf course with this boss really shaped me into the person that I am today. And it wasn't a lifelong job, but for the time that I was there, it was so meaningful to me. And so it's really important to me to create that style of environment in my businesses for my employees, that for however long they're with me, they get value out of being with me beyond just a paycheck and beyond just a place to work, but they get value in their lives, and they leave better person, more skills, more discipline than they did when they first came. That is my goal. Again, it doesn't always work. I had an employee resign yesterday that was only with me for a month, and I hardly got to know her, and truthfully only met her one time. And so I doubt that will be her sentiment when she thinks about working at my restaurant. Yeah. But to be honest, I have my turnover rate is less than 1% at the current moment between all my businesses.
It's incredible.
Again, it's in this book that I wrote that I have no idea if it will see the light of day. I wrote it for myself. Maybe it makes it out into the public. Maybe it doesn't. But one of the things I talk about in there is that, that when it comes to my employees, like I want them to feel like I really, really care about them. And I do. I sincerely care about my team, my employees, the ones that work for me. I try to get to know them all personally. I am terrible with names. I'm really good with life details. So I can name all 41 employees. If I saw their face, I could tell you who they are. But I'm better at knowing, do they have kids? Who's their favorite college sports team? Those types of things. And so, when I see my employees day in and day out, it's never like, how's your day going? It's, how was class yesterday? How was how's your major coming? Are you getting nervous about your internship that you have coming up, or whatever it might be? And then I also have a major soft spot for people that want to become entrepreneurs themselves. And so I've definitely had a handful of people that have come to me that said, hey, down the road, I would love to open my own business. I want to learn from you. Can I come work for you? And, conventional wisdom would say, don't hire somebody that already has one foot out the door. But for me, it's like, man, if I can get them in, let them be with me for a year, let them see what running a business is like, and then they move on to start their own business and lead their own people. It's a win for everybody. So definitely, people that have that mindset, I have a major soft spot for. But yeah, and the other piece of that too is to your end, like. I know I'm kind of rambling. To your end, you mentioned, transactional. We've got a job to do. It needs to be great. The reality of entrepreneurship is nobody will ever represent my brand as good as I will represent my brand. That's just a reality of it. It's my brand. I'm the most passionate about it. So the challenge for us as entrepreneurs that have employees is how do we motivate our employees enough to where they care enough about the brand to represent it in a really high manner. And for me, creating a culture where they feel valued and they feel like they have value for themselves, but also that they can bring value to the brand. Those are the people that I think will go above and beyond to represent your brand in a really meaningful way. If you think about back on your jobs that you've had in your life, the jobs that you love the most versus the jobs that you love the least, in which one were you more likely to go above and beyond for the owner, for the brand? It's going to be the ones where you loved it and you love the owner and you love the working there. And so, I think it works itself out in the end that if you really create a culture where people feel valued, feel cared for, then they're willing to represent your brand in a meaningful way.
Do you celebrate the wins with your employees?
Absolutely.
What's that look like?
There's the basic high fives. We had a monster day on Sunday. Sunday was National Waffle Day, and so we did $5 chicken and waffles at both of our locations, and hundreds of chicken and waffle plates went out the door, and it was chaos, and everybody was sweating and going nuts. And so, at the end of the day, it's high fives, good job, way to go, this is awesome. At one of our locations, my manager bought everybody pizza, and so there's those like little things where you can celebrate throughout the day. We also do we aim to do 2 social events for our team a year. So we do one in the summer, and then we do one around the holidays. That we spend time. We close the shops down. We just don't have business that day. We get outside and barbecue and play games, and we spend a little time just talking about the value of everybody on the team and going around and doing those types of things. And so those are some of the things that we look for. And then, I've got a management team of 5 between my businesses, and I spend more time on my management team than anybody else. They get the majority of my time. And I'd say probably twice a month, we go out to lunch together and celebrate and talk about the cool things we've been doing and just remind them that they're doing a great job.
Let's talk about your book for a minute.
Sure.
Because particularly the title's intriguing to me. I told you were nice enough to just share it with me, and I was able to look at it at a very high level and pull some things out. But the title struck me. I know the owner.
Yeah.
Like, tell me the genesis of that title.
Yeah, so that the title is honestly a running joke between my team and I. One of the best things that any entrepreneur can do is to be a recognizable face in their community. And I've put a lot of energy into this. This isn't tooting my own horn, but if you come to Greeley, you'll find a hard time going anywhere and finding somebody that doesn't know me. It drives my kids nuts. We can't go to the grocery store without me seeing somebody and having a conversation. We can't go anywhere without me knowing someone. There's a funny story that we were actually on vacation we live in Greeley, Colorado. We were on vacation in Manhattan, New York, and I ran into someone that I knew in Manhattan, New York, of all places. And my kids just rolled their eyes. Of course he does. And so, but one of the most frequently used statements at my businesses is, I know the owner. And they come in and they say, oh, I know Matt, I know Trista. And 90% of the times they do, and 10% of the time they've never met me before, but they like to say the line. And I just say one of the things that is so valuable for an entrepreneur is to be known by people. And if you want to build a brand, if you want to build a good brand, if you want to build one that is lasting and doing well and successful, you need to be known by your community. And so in the book, I say that, if 5 people a night tell my staff that they know me, that's not enough for me. And so it can get annoying. They would like a little extra treatment sometime. There's some funny TikTok videos of people that walk into a bar and say they know the owner, and the bartender rolls out the red carpet, and and we actually, it became so funny at one point that we put on our menu, I know the owner drink on there, and
a discount.
People would no discount. People would order the drink thinking that it was like a blanket statement of like, I know the owner. And then we would take them the drink, and they'd be like, "What's this drink for?" You ordered the drink. I know the owner drink. And oh, I didn't know it was a drink. I was just telling you I knew the owner. And we would we wouldn't charge them for it. It was more of a fun thing. But we have a shirt now. We actually sell a shirt at the distillery that says "I know the owner." Everyone at 477. And so it's just become a fun mantra in my businesses. A lot of people know me, and which is, I think, added to a lot of our success.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I talk about the first time, in the opening chapter, I talk about my friend Art Long, who owns several coffee shops here in town. And the first time I ever saw him in a coffee shop, and how cool he was as the owner, and how I just thought, I want to be that guy. I want to be the owner, and how valuable it is to know the owner.
Yeah.
So,
I would say that to have that goal that people know you, the owner, they need to know you need to operate with integrity. You need to care for people. You need to live out those values, right? Because
absolutely,
it's scary for people to be known if they're not being nice to people and working hard and that type of thing. One of the questions I have is about your prioritized life. You've talked about prioritizing your family. Tell me a little bit about you're 43.
Yes, sir.
Yep. You're feeling more decay today than you were at age 35. How are you delaying the decay physically, or are you? Is the physical component important for you?
Incredibly important. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that look like?
The irony of this is, I kid you not, yesterday I was sitting in a meeting, sitting in a chair, doing nothing, and my back went out sitting in the chair. I was like, yep, this is the life I'm living now.
43.
And so I spent half my day laying on the ground, icing my back.
But sorry, dude.
I'm recovered today. I went for a 4-mile run this morning. So, life is good. But I will tell you that for me, there's 3 major elements to my health that are really, really important to me. And these this has become a big discovery for me over the last probably 5 years of my life. The 3 main areas are exercise, sleep, and nutrition. And nothing earth-shattering, but I've always been good at exercise. I've always really enjoyed exercising. I'm not an Ironman physique. If you see me, I think they described me as big boned when I was in high school, or husky, and I've never been a skinny guy, but I've always enjoyed exercise, but I've found for me that, again, going back to the very original question that you asked, if I don't have something that I'm committed to that is really pushing me in my exercise, then I'm just kind of going through the motions.
Gotcha.
I do go to the gym 3 times a week at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's a group fitness class, and we've been doing this together for several years, and they're all my friends, and so that's a nice level of accountability that helps me there. But for me, I found that to really challenge myself from an exercise standpoint, I have to be committed to things. So that's why I signed up for a half Ironman this last summer, and competed in a half Ironman in June. I've got another race coming up in a month, much smaller, not as significant, but again, keeps me motivated knowing that, like, I don't want to drown in the triathlon, so I better get in the pool and swim, and don't want to finish last. And so So the exercise is really, really important. Not to mention that I just feel so much better when I exercise. I'm sharper throughout the day. I feel like my brain works a lot better. My brain has become something that's very important to me, and being able to make decisions and the right decisions and be able to communicate. I find that really helps when I'm exercising. Sleep is one that's become much more recent discovery for me. I think in my younger years, so my wife and I, we put our kids, they go to bed later now, but let's just say 3 years ago, their kids were going to bed at 8 o'clock, which really means they're going to bed at 9 o'clock after the whole bed, the routine. And so they would go to bed at 9, and it was kind of like our magical hour where we had an hour together, and we would turn on a TV show and of course you watch a TV show and it leaves you with a cliffhanger at 10 o'clock, and it's like, well, let's just watch a little bit more of this. And so then we would, we'd watch, let's just watch the first part. And then we watch a whole other show, and that leaves with a cliffhanger. So we got to watch another one. So we found ourselves going to bed very, very late, getting up very early. And I thought, I'm tough enough. I can kind of gut my way through being tired all the time. And recently I just started, honestly, with when I started training for triathlons, which I've done 3 now. And when I started training for triathlons, a lot of the training things talk about how important sleep was. And so I started pushing myself, got to get 8 hours of sleep a night. And so I would, we haven't watched a TV show at night, and we did over the summer, but our kids are back in school now, and we send them to bed, then we go to bed. And the reality is I don't really miss the TV shows. I don't find myself getting up in the morning going, man, I wish I would have stayed up an extra 2 hours and watched that show. But I also, again, I just feel so much better. I feel so much more awake, alive, happier, able to be nice to people as opposed to being a grumpy guy. And there are studies, tons and tons of studies. I've gotten kind of a deep dive into this, but tons of studies that show that one of the best things for longevity, for life longevity and staying healthy as long as you can, is sleep.
That's right.
And one of the things that takes more age off of you is lack of sleep. And so I've put pretty good energy into it. I have a watch that tracks my sleep, and I track every night and see where I'm deep sleep versus REM sleep, and it could be a little obsessive for sure, but sleep is very important.
Yeah, my wife and I do that as well, and it stresses her out because she goes like, I only slept 7 hours and 15 minutes. I had 0 REM. I should really be tired, It's but for me, it's I mean, what's not measured is not managed, right? So like I want to know.
Right.
And that way you can make adjustments with the temperature, with the lightness or the darkness, the noise, the screen time before bed, right? It's all of that impacts sleep. Have you played with some of that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, honestly, and in my world, alcohol too. Alcohol is really bad for sleep, which is a bummer because that's my livelihood. But but drink early, is kind of the deal. And anyway, all that to say is, I've all that, we've messed with different types of sheets and temperatures, and we generally keep it pretty dark, but sleep has become very important. The last piece of the puzzle for me is nutrition. This is probably the absolute hardest thing for me because I love food. And I own a waffle restaurant. I mean, not the best thing in the world for somebody that loves food, but left to my own devices, I would eat pizza every day and Swedish fish and peach rings, and but I track my nutrition. I have an app that I track my macros and what I'm putting into my body versus what I'm expelling. Especially when I was training for the half Ironman, nutrition is such an important part of distance training that it made me kind of be pretty proactive at watching what I was putting in my body. But I'm lucky. My wife is a great cook, and she likes to eat healthy, and so we generally eat fairly healthy in my house.
Yeah, tell me what you we've tracked macros for years. Tell me what you like about tracking macros. How has that helped you in your discipline?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it for me is about energy. Again, not getting too deep into this, but I'm not training as hard as I was when I was getting ready for the Ironman. But when I'm training for the Ironman, you need your body needs energy. If I'm going to go out and run 13 miles and bike 40 miles in a day, then I'm going to crash out if I don't have the proper energy to fuel my body. So understanding that carbs equals fuel, and getting the right amount of carbs and good carbs into my body is really helpful. Understanding that protein is great for recovery. And, there's a lot of times where you're on your way to the gym and you eat a protein bar. It's really not going to help you work out. Protein is much better for recovery than it is for energy. And so understanding that, and then understanding the value of fat and getting the right fat in your body that keeps your organs operating properly, and then hydration's huge. I'm the guy that walks around with a water bottle everywhere I go. I've always got a water bottle with me, and
not a 64-ounce bottle, is it? Not the
No, I don't do those. I just have a small Yeti that I refill, and
good for you.
But and it's tough. Nutrition's tough.
Yeah,
it really is. For me, of the three disciplines, it's the hardest. It's the one that when we go on vacation, I throw the app out the window and just eat everything I can.
Yeah. Live it up. Yeah, I would just say this.
Yeah.
I'd say this to the audience that's listening as well, because everybody, I think, would agree that nutrition's the hardest. People have tried, like different disciplines, whether it be paleo or keto or, fasting of different kinds. And what I found is that macro counting gives you the most freedom to live life the way you want to live life. Because if I know that tomorrow morning I'm headed to Maple and Oak to have a waffle, I'm going to be thinking about that. I'm going to know how many calories, how much carbs and fat I'm getting from that waffle, and then I'm going to let that inform the rest of my day. Or if I'm going to a birthday party at night, I'm going to have cake. I want to have cake. But I can start thinking about that and planning for that in the morning, right? It's what's not measured is it's like a budget. If you don't know your P's and Q's for your profit and loss statement, you can't wing it there. And nutrition's the same way, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The app that I use is called Fueling. Like fuel and then IN, fuel in.
Okay.
And it's created for distance athletes, but they use a stoplight system, red, yellow, green, and so a red day is low carbs. A yellow day is meat, and they generally work on carbs because that's your main fuel source.
Okay.
Red day is low carbs. Yellow day is medium carbs. Green day is you eat whatever you want, and so that's usually Saturdays they call it a cheat day. Some people call it cheat day. On Fueling, it's just a green day where not whatever you want, but you have a much higher carb intake on those days.
That's cool.
And then it gives you. The app also gives you like meal ideas. So, you need to get this many carbs and this much protein and this much fat into your body. And so here's, 5 different meal options that you can make at home that really, hit within that. So it's been a great tool for me. Yeah. I definitely am not and you can scan labels, and it does all the work on the label scanning. And so it's been a good tool for me.
Yeah. You'll love this. My youngest son is director of sports performance for a Major League Soccer team in Kansas City. And he has his players do blood testing on a regular basis, and they use a company called Inside Tracker, and they measure like 60 biomarkers with the blood. And based off those biomarkers and based off the DNA, they can tell the players exactly what their diet should be based on their physiological makeup. And
that's cool.
That stuff is coming our direction, which is really cool because as you described, we all have different builds and different metabolism and that type of thing, and we should be eating different, not the same. So, lot of fun. So here it is. You have owned 7 businesses. You own 5 currently. Yet
4.
4 currently. You are prioritizing your family. You are spending time with your daughters, prioritizing your wife. You're exercising. You're eating as well as you can based on the lifestyle. You have a certain direction. It's not perfection, but it's direction. And so there's really no excuse for anybody to not prioritize relationships, exercise, and nutrition.
And sleep.
Yeah. Sleep. And in my 5 life domains, sleep comes under the mental domain because it impacts your mental capacity like nothing else, right? As you already said.
Yep.
I want to, anything else you want to say, but I want to finish up with one final question. I know that you don't just serve the community, you live in community. I know you've been part of a mastermind group. You've got friends that speak into your life. You work out with friends. How important is it to do a journey like this of entrepreneurship, to live in a direction of health, in all 5 life domains, in the context of community, where there are other men that know you and who can encourage you and counsel you? Just talk to me about how that has impacted your life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredibly important, even back to our very first question of being committed and how that really has changed my habit lifestyle. I think the same is true with being in committed groups. Just like my workout class, I've got these guys I've been doing this with for a long time, including my neighbor. And so, we, when I'm not there, I'm getting a text. It's like, did you sleep in this morning? What's your deal? And so, on the other side too, from a business side, I will tell you, it is lonely at the top when you're the guy that's making decisions, that's running it. That's no one knows what you're going through other than people that have been through what you're going through. And so, I mentioned our neighbors and our best friends. They are small business owners as well. They own a water and fire damage mitigation company here in town. And so when I've had a rough day at work, or I've had employee issues, or I have a major decision to make, we often sit in their front patio while the kids play outside, and we'll talk about that. And it's just so wonderful being with people that like understand what it's like to be the owner and the one that's got to make all the decisions. And same for them. I think there's been plenty of times where they've said, hey, we've got this major decision and it's really weighing on me. What is your opinion? What do you think? We trust you because you guys are in the same boat. And I'm in a group of 3 guys that I guess would be considered a mastermind style group, and that we call ourselves the President's Club. I don't know why that's our name. My buddy Aaron did it, but we're all there's 4 of us. We're all in different spheres of entrepreneurship, but we get in a room together once a month for about 2 hours, and we share accountability. We share accountability with each other. We talk about our business decisions. Again, these are people that understand what it's like to be in the same boat that I'm in. And so the value of that is so huge. There have been so many business decisions, life decisions, marriage decisions, all of that have been made in community with people that truly understood what I was experiencing and going through.
Love it. Well, Matt, yep. I am so thankful to get to know the owner a little bit better today. And
thank you.
And I can see why your reputation is so stellar in Greeley and Weld County. And it's obvious why your businesses are a success. I will continue to be a customer, no doubt about it. And I'll bring my community with me as I come there. Is there any last thing that you'd like to say to my audience who is unashamedly ambitious? They want to build and create something, but they don't want to lose their life. Any last words?
I would echo what we've been talking about this whole time. And again, not to keep pointing back to my book, I'm not trying to sell it. I don't even know if it's gonna be a thing. But the last chapter of my book, I talk about when I worked at the church I worked at. My boss coined a phrase. The church called Journey Christian Church, and he coined a phrase. He would say at the end of every service, "Enjoy the journey, but don't enjoy it alone." He would say that at the end of every service, all the time. And I did the math when I was working on this book, and I think that I've probably heard that phrase somewhere in the 2,000 time range in working for him for 8 years, and all the services we did, and hearing it in staff meetings. And so I think it's kind of become ingrained inside of me. And when it comes to my own experience as an entrepreneur, as a dad, as a husband, I think it's, for me, as I kind of have reflected upon my experience, I'd say there's 2 things that have been so important to me. One is enjoy it. Again, I don't know how long it's going to last. Like my businesses could shut down by the end of this year. That's the reality of it. Like, it's risky. It could end. But I want to enjoy it. There are people everywhere that would love to be in my shoes. And so I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy the experience. I'm going to, take advantage of what it's like to be a business owner and enjoy the heck out of that time. And so have fun. That would be a big thing, is have a good time doing it. But the second thing is have a good time with people. And at the end of the day, for me, it has always boiled down to people and being in community with people, serving people. So never forget about the people in your life. Those would be the two pieces of feedback I would leave you. Thanks, Aaron Chambers, for giving me those words. Enjoy the journey, but don't enjoy it alone.
There you go. So have fun, do it in community, and remember, it's about direction, not perfection. Put perfection aside and just step out in the direction of your calling. Yeah, Matt, it was such a joy to be with you, and look forward to seeing you sometime in Greeley. And we'll do this again maybe after your book is published, which I'm excited about.
Who knows if it will be, but thank you.
So until next time, we'll see you on the Delay the Decay podcast with Dan Hardy. Thanks for listening to Delay the Decay. If today's conversation resonated with you, follow, subscribe, and share with someone else on the journey. Until next time, keep prioritizing what matters. And remember, it's about direction, not perfection.